The preservation of the Alden home site in Duxbury starts with Ella Alden, first of all, and the formation of the Alden Kindred of America. Ella started in 1901 a letter-writing campaign. She wanted the Alden descendants to get together and have a family reunion. And she wrote to everybody she could think of, and she got them to write to everybody they could think of, and about 100 of them got together in the town of Avon in 1901. It was written up in the Boston Sunday Post. It said, quote, "It has remained for a woman to take the first steps in the present initiative. This is Miss A. Ella Alden of North Middleborough, a descendant in the 8th generation. Both her mother and her father were descendants of John and Priscilla Alden. As soon as she started the ball rolling, others of the family warmly seconded her plans." And so they formed the Alden Kindred of America, and the next year, in 1902, they had their second reunion, although it was the first by the Alden Kindred, which makes their anniversary celebrations really complicated. Over 700 Aldens got together, and this time they got together at the Alden House in Duxbury at the invitation of the Alden who was living there. All these little here, and that is the Alden House in the background there. And of course, what is unique about the Alden House is that it was built by Aldens, and it has never been owned by anybody except Aldens. It was at the invitation of the Aldens who were living there that they had the first of their reunions in 1902. We still have annual reunions at the Alden House. No, I am not an Alden. Like Priscilla, I had the good fortune to marry one. Okay. The Alden House was originally built by Jonathan Alden, who was the son of John and Priscilla. Well, in 1907, the Alden Kindred, having been incorporated by now, had the opportunity to buy the house. And so they did. They allowed the Alden family that had been living there to continue living there. And it was just a place where the Aldens would come once a year and meet. Well, in 1921, they had the opportunity to do something with the house because the Alden who was living there moved out. And so a gentleman by the name of Charles Alden had a lease, and he was going to operate the Alden House as a museum. Well, in 1930, Ella Alden died. Not only that, but of course the Great Depression hit. And it hit Charles Alden's family. And his son lost his job, and Charles allowed his son's family to actually move into the Alden House. And in order to make it livable, of course, they had to put in electricity. They had to put in plumbing, all these sorts of things that hadn't been in the house before, and there wasn't any money left over to keep the house in good repair. So things were getting a little bit iffy. It was not good. But there wasn't much that the Aldens could do about it at the time between the Depression, and then they went into the Second World War. But in 1955, they decided that the situation could not go on in that way any longer, and that it was time for the Alden Kindred to step up and to take on the responsibility of managing the house. And we have another driving force, once again a woman by the name of Helen Delano. How? Helen was formidable. She brought focus, she brought determination, and she brought a significant and very influential checkbook. The house was closed to visitors. This was 1955, and they spent almost a full 2 years redoing the house. They did significant structural repairs. They actually looked at it for the first time as a museum with a focus and a mission of public service. They looked at how the rooms were going to be set up. They opened up some of the original architecture, and they managed to get that all done and get the house reopened by 1957, when Mayflower II arrived in Plymouth Harbor, and there was this great interest, surge of interest in the Pilgrim story. Helen was also influential in saving the archaeological first house site. It's not far from the Alden House, and it is the spot where John and Priscilla Alden first lived when they came out to Duxbury. And it's on land that had, by the 1950s, become part of a property that was owned by the town. And in order for it to be preserved, well, there had to be an archaeological survey done. And so Helen arranged for the archaeological survey to be done. She paid for the archaeological survey to be done by Roland Robbins. And that survey did save that first house site. It has been filled in and covered over for its own protection. It's property that's still owned by the town, but it has been saved. And actually, when the Alden House, and this is as it looks now, got its national landmark status, and that was just a couple of years ago in 2009, that was possible really because both sites were included in that National Historic Landmark status. And as a matter of fact, moving forward, what the Aldens are planning to do is a project that has been spearheaded by yet a third woman who is the current president of the Alden Kindred of America, another energetic and formidable woman by the name of Pauline Kizer. And what Pauline has done, she's only been president for about 3 years, what needs to be done regularly with any historic organization, she kind of, took it by the scruff of the neck and gave it a good shake. They took a big step just about a year and a half ago, and they opened up the Alden Kindred to folks who do not have a genealogical connection, but who really do have an emotional attachment in one way or another to the property, and it has brought an enormous increase in membership and an interest in the property, because now we know that we are included and we are involved and we feel a part of things.